Woman hears noise in closet wall, breaks it open. This all happened to the Crystal family, but it might as well have been a horror movie. Upon moving into the house on a quiet street, it seemed normal to them. A little while later, they noticed that two of the windows outside looked a little odd, but they ignored it. They could not have anticipated finding this when they completed an innocent renovation project. The Crystal family had had no inkling that there was something odd about their house. They had already lived in it for 3 years without any disturbing revelations. In fact, the hidden room would have remained hidden if it wasn't for the family's matriarch. In 2020, the family sat down to discuss something rather important to them all. While they had been renovating the house, daughter Abriana Crystal had a suggestion for an improvement. Things had been getting more serious with her boyfriend, so she had asked if he could move in with them. Although her mother allowed it, she had just one request for her daughter's boyfriend. Abriana's mom wanted the wall of her closet taken down. It was a poor use of space and would make the room much larger if it was removed. The task seemed simple enough. All they had to worry about was a bit of mess from the demolition. But nobody had stopped to think about what could be on the other side. Abriana loved uploading videos onto TikTok. She recorded snippets of life in the Crystal household and posted them on the site throughout the day for fun. But, while renovations were well underway, she accidentally recorded the moment the entire family got the most unsettling shock of their lives. They say that hindsight is always 20/20. There had been evidence that there was something odd about the house while the Crystals had been living there, but they had never thought to delve deeper. There were windows that could be seen from the outside of the house, but they were nowhere to be found on the inside. Adriana's TikTok followers questioned the strange feature at first, but they soon lost interest and became fixated on something else and never asked any more questions. After all, the large family had lived in that house for 3 years already. What could go bump in the night when they had been living there for all that time? Besides, the Crystals were far more concerned with Abriana's boyfriend moving in at the time. Naturally, they wondered about having to share the house with someone they'd never lived with before. They wondered what annoying habits he had, and if he would be a good housemate or not. But it was while they prepared for his arrival that they stumbled onto the secret the house had been keeping. Abriana's boyfriend got to work removing the closet wall they had decided to take down. Something began to emerge from the other side. At first, nobody knew exactly what to make of it. It definitely wasn't what they had been expecting. They thought that all they would find behind there would be a small space and perhaps some wiring. They were very wrong. After the boards had been pulled down, the family found something remarkable. Hidden behind the panel was an entire room. Abriana and her mother stepped through the closet to get a better look. Luckily, Abriana had been recording the reveal for TikTok. But once they were inside the unfinished room, they saw no sign of the mysterious windows. Through the first room, there was a second unoccupied room. It had been left unfinished during the construction of a bathroom, which was evident by a section for a fan in the ceiling. Loose floorboards lay strewn about. And there were the windows that could only be seen from the outside of the house. With all the natural light streaming in, Adriana didn't feel frightened at all, despite what her panicked TikTok followers were saying. Most of all, she felt curious. She walked around to get a closer look. She was half expecting to come face to face with a squatter, but she pushed past her fears and continued on. Through a series of videos, Abriana slowly revealed the secret room. The previous owners of the house had drawn measurements on the wall in pencil and had laid out where each appliance was supposed to go. But why hadn't the Crystal family not known about all this? And why were the rooms left unfinished? Abriana's avid followers had some theories. Many mentioned the similarities to certain moments in The Haunting of Hill House. They also suggested that the secret rooms might have had something to do with a cult. But, for every believer, there was also a skeptic to weigh in on what they thought had happened there. Some of the more level-headed followers saw a more logical and plausible side to the story. Sealing the extra rooms off would lower the taxes that the new homeowners would have to pay. And, as a result, the home would sell much quicker. But, of course, Abriana couldn't be 100% sure. Buying a house is one of the prime things to do in your adult years. For most of us, it's more than a rite of passage. There is the overwhelming urge to make the right choice when selecting a house, given that it will be where you live most of your life. As such, several things usually come to play when choosing. But some of us are usually unlucky in what we end up with. The Blackburns were an example of such an unlucky fate when they thought they'd found their dream house. The place had been pristine, and newlyweds Kelly and Milo Blackburn were beside themselves with joy. They were ready to start their lives when out of nowhere, they started hearing a sickening buzz in their bathroom walls. What they'd find would send them. Unlike the Crystal family, who'd lived in their house for 3 years before making their revelation, the Blackburns had only been there for a week when everything fell apart. What had been a steal from a very competitive market and a dream come true was soon to turn into the couple's personal nightmare for the night. Kelly and Milo had always wanted to live in a big house. They came from massive families, and since their first date, they had talked about how it would be having many kids running up and down the house. Of course, this was 6 years before they put their first down payment on the place they'd call theirs forever. They had no clue what awaited them there. For years after their first date, Milo got on his knees and proposed to the love of his life. Kelly couldn't scream yes fast enough, and before the two knew it, they were standing on an altar exchanging vows. It wasn't long before they were pronounced husband and wife. They began their married life, and for a few months, everything was beyond perfect. But although growing up can seem fun at first, it comes with its set of challenges. For a married couple, such issues may include moving from your apartment into a house. Kelly and Milo already had the perfect plan for this issue. Although they were still young, they both had excellent credit and could get a suitable mortgage. The only thing they had to do was find the house of their dreams. Their search began, and after a few weeks of combing through every possible house on the market, the couple landed on one that pulled their heartstrings. The house was a beautiful 2-story building with a front and backyard, garage, and driveway. It was also built in the 50s, which made it rich in history. Kelly and Milo couldn't wait to get their hands on it. The house was in perfect shape despite its age. But the realtor informed the couple that its last owner had held onto it for a few years, living elsewhere entirely, before deciding to sell it. The couple found other prospective buyers checking out the place too. They had to act fast if they wanted to call this place their home. If only they knew what they were stepping into. Kelly and Milo bought the house, moving in as soon as possible. The first few days were magical. The house's interior was all dark brown wood, with high ceilings ornamented with decades-old chandeliers. The front and backyard looked breathtaking under the sun, and the garage was big enough to fit 2 cars. The Blackburns were beyond happy with what they got. But everything started taking a different turn. The first indicator that something was off was a constant buzzing in one of the guest rooms upstairs. Kelly was the first to hear it while decorating the room and dismissed it, thinking it was some electric appliance in the other room. But the noise seemed more organic than mechanic, making her wonder if it was more than a light bulb humming. That night, she told Milo about the buzzing as they had dinner. First, he switched off the power to the whole house. With a flashlight in hand, the two hurried to investigate. Kelly had hoped the humming would die now that the house had no power. But it had only gotten louder. She could also hear chattering inside the wall as if something was scratching at the wall, trying to break out. "I don't like this," she whispered to her husband, who had placed an ear to the wall, gently tapping to see if the buzzing and scratching would become more frantic. How many times had they read about hidden compartments in houses where dark activities took place? Maybe something sinister waited for them on the other side of that wall. Milo turned the power back on and went for his tools. He spent the rest of the night chipping away at the drywall, hoping nothing dangerous would emerge. He was 2 hours in when he noticed something that made him stop everything and hurry out of the room. He knew he wasn't equipped to handle what awaited him behind the wall. The item in question was a thick golden liquid, slowly dripping from a small crevice in the wall. Milo told Kelly they'd be sleeping in a hotel for the night. He made a few calls while Kelly packed an overnight bag, and the two drove away. In the morning, a professional from animal control was waiting for them in their driveway. After a few formalities, she got to work. The professional brought down the entire wall, revealing a beehive taller than her. She combed through the thousands of bees until she found their queen and moved her out of the hive. She also transferred the rest of the bees and tore down the massive hive piece by piece so she could rebuild for the bees in a friendlier environment. Watching the entire thing unfold was blood-curdling for Kelly and Milo, but it wasn't enough to make them sell their dream home.